Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Monday, August 29th, 2016.
Commissioner Repenning, James Davis, and Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Neil Drucker, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Chris Smith, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Fabian Cheng, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Tim Tyson, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Robert Potter, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do have a speaker card under general public comment, no commentaries under the Neighborhood Council, and then we also receive speaker cards on item number 2.
We have a speaker card on general public comment. Okay, let's go ahead and take general public comment. Leah Renee?
Hi, my name is Leah Renee. I'm bringing you today the tract map because it seems that there's a lot of false statements and a lot of obfuscation of material facts in the Pacific Palisades Bluffs. And I recently learned that they're using the obfuscations which cause people harm. So they don't even know what the map is, they don't know what the lot lines are, and they don't know what the easements are, and that's really unfair. It puts burden on people that they shouldn't have. So I brought that to you. And the other thing is, I can't say it in the 2 minutes, but what's going on that bluff is really, really horrific. And I feel really alone and abandoned by my city because the people in Bureau of Engineering and the people at this Department of Sanitation keep twisting the facts around. And then they say so I can't lay it out here, and I'm wondering if there's one of you that I could speak with so I could show you just the facts and you could look at the record. Single most important thing is that there's an easement in here. It's a city easement, and the city needs to use the easement. Secondly, I need you to make sure that you put in a temporary bypass pipe so that the sewage that's coming out and going into the bluff is put back into the sewer. The other thing is, the facts of it, there appears to be alligator cracking at the top of this in the street. And I show it to the inspectors, and then I show them the water. And I've recently learned that you have problems all up and down this bluff, and you've put in hydroggers, and you're saying $2 million. I've found it all online. So why are all the other Pacific Palisades Bluffs neighborhoods getting Nino and Moore is showing up to make sure that their hills doesn't fall down.
2 minutes.
Some of them don't even have houses, and here we have 65 houses, and we have no protection. So is there somebody I could just give the facts to?
Well, thank you, ma'am. I don't know who to assign this to because I don't really understand exactly what is being asked. It sounds like do we have an engineering...
They're making false statements.
Neil, why don't you, after you're done with your report, why don't you speak with...
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Just so I can get a sense of where we are. Yeah. Anybody else on general public comment? Then we'll close. No other cards? Okay, then we'll close general public comment. Thank you, ma'am. Our first item of business, the approval of the meeting minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, August 10th, 2016. Is there a second to my motion that we approve those meeting minutes? By Commissioner Repenning. Any objection? Without objection, we'll approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 8. Flatiron West has transmitted an affidavit disputing validity of a stop notice filed by United Steel Placers Incorporated in the amount of $589,746.11 for furnishing material and labor in connection with the Riverside Drive viaduct replacement over the Los Angeles River project. The contractor is Flatiron West. They recommend that the board authorize the executive officer to serve on the said United Steel Placers a copy of the dispute, which is a little confusing to me. Mr. Jordan, is this something that we asked the executive officer to do? This is just a dispute of a stop notice, isn't it? or Mr. Campos?
I can chime in, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. So this is a case in which it rarely happens, but once in a while we do have a contractor that will dispute the stop notice that was received and entered by this board. In this case,
I don't have any issue with that. It's what are they requiring? What's the request for us to serve it?
under the Civil Code 3199, we do have to notify the individual that placed the stop notice if there is a response to the validation of the stop notice or not. The person that submitted the stop notice has 20 days to respond back to this board. If they do agree that it was invalid, we will go ahead and release the stop notice. If they disagree that it's a valid or an invalid stop notice, then the stop notice will remain.
What concerns me is the word serve. When you serve someone, that brings in legal implications. Do you have to personally serve it? Can you serve it by mail?
We can serve it by mail. So Section 3199 does allow us to do a service by mail, so long as we'd have a proof of service delivery. So we will have that included in the packet. So we just have to.
And so are you going to do the proof of service, Mr. Campos?
That is correct. That's already
Okay.
completed.
Yeah, this sounds reasonable to me as well.
Okay, thank you. Well, first time I've seen that one.
It happens, I think the last time that it happened was about 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, okay. Thus, the first time I've seen that one. All right, thank you. Is there a second to my motion to receive agenda item number 8 by Commissioner Davis? Any objection? Without objection, agenda item number 8 will be received. Any issues sending or receiving it forthwith? We'll receive number 8 forthwith. Agenda item number 5, authority for expenditure in the City of Long Beach Southeast Resource Recovery Facility, Office of Accounting, and the Bureau of Sanitation are requesting board approval and execution of authority for expenditure in the amount of $200,000 to thermal recycle 100 tons of household solid waste per day, maybe thermally recycle 100 tons of household solid waste per day for the City of Los Angeles in connection with the Southeast Resource Recovery Facility. That's the SURF facility in the City of Long Beach, Los Angeles County Sanitation Districts for July 1, 2016 through August 31, 2016. Rowena Romano?
Good morning, Mr. President, Commissioners Jacinto, Davis, and Repenning, Bureau Representative, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. I am Rowena Romano with LA Sanitation. The item before you is an AFE in the amount of $200,000 to pay the Southeast Resource Recovery Facility, SURF, for disposal
And by the way,
services.
Rowena, I may have been,
Oh,
this
sorry.
is number 7.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I said number 5.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
Item number 5. 5 or 7? 7.
You're here on number 7.
I'm good, right?
Right.
Okay.
That's the one that I described.
Okay.
I accidentally called it number 5. I was looking at a different sheet. So
Okay.
go ahead on number 7.
Okay. So funding for this AFE will come from the Sanitation Solid Resource Revenue Fund, and there's no impact to the general fund.
Okay. We're just paying our SURF fees, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions about number 7? Is there a motion on number 7? Commissioner Repenning, I'll second it, along with Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7. Any issue sending 7 forthwith? We'll send number 7 forthwith. Agenda item number 6, authority for expenditure from the State Water Resources Control Board. Office of Accounting and Bureau of Sanitation requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $363,892 to encumber funds to pay for the annual National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System and stormwater fees as required by the State of California State Water Resources Control Board, a state regulatory agency, per the California Water Code Section 13260. These annual fees are required in order to discharge the processed water or wastewater produced by the Donald C. Tillman Reclamation Plant for the period of July 1, 2016 through June 30th, 2017, the current fiscal year. John Mays.
Good morning, Mr. President, fellow commissioners, and other city staff. The fees associated here are combined federal and state water board permits. The total amount for DC Tillman is $362,609. The NPDS fee, which is $290,000 of that $362, had a 2.1% increase over the previous year. The waste discharge requirement, the state permit had a no increase, and the stormwater permits had a slight decrease, 21% decrease from the previous year, but it's a small dollar amount.
Great, thank you. Mr. Mays, any questions on agenda item number 6? I don't have any questions. Is there a motion on number 6? By Commissioner Repenning, seconded by Commissioners Davis and Jacinto. So without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 6. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 6 forthwith. Thank
Okay.
you, sir. Agenda item number 5. Now we're at number 5. Authority for Expenditure, State Water Resources Control Board, Office of Accounting, and the Bureau of Sanitation are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $115,337 to encumber funds to pay for the annual National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System in PDES and stormwater fees as required by the State of California. State Water Resources Control Board, a state regulatory agency per Water Code Section 13260. These annual fees are required in order to discharge processed wastewater produced by the Los Angeles Glendale Reclamation Plant. There's a difference, plus the amount on this one, for this fiscal year. Mr. Mays on number 5 as well.
Okay, the dollar amounts or percent increases are the same. The NPDES permit, which is the bulk of the dollar amount, increased 2.1%. That dollar amount is $74,082. The waste discharge requirement has no change, and the stormwater permit had about a 21% decrease. So,
Okay.
over the previous year.
Any questions regarding agenda item number 5? I don't have any questions. There a motion on number 5 by Commissioner Repenning, seconded by Commissioners Davis and Jacinto. So without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Any issue sending number 5 forthwith? We'll send number 5 forthwith. Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 4, an authority for expenditure regarding the South Coast Air Quality Management District. The Office of Accounting and the Bureau of Sanitation requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $25,000 to encumber funds for the South Coast Air Quality Management District Title V fees, health risk fees, and other required mandated fees for this fiscal year 16-17. Annual emissions requirement fees to meet compliance standards. Title V is a national operating permit program for air pollution sources. Facilities subject to Title V must obtain a Title V permit and comply with specific Title V procedures to modify the permit. Lance Thibodeau on agenda item number 4.
Good morning, President, Vice President, City Executives. I'm Lance Thibodeau representing Terminal Island Water Reclamation Plant. As the President stated, we're requesting the approval for the authority of expenditure in the amount of $25,000 for our South Coast AQMD fees for fiscal year 16-17. These cover our pollutant emissions based on the number of operating equipment that we have at our facility. We have budgeted for this item, but we're requesting approval for the authority for expenditure.
Any questions regarding the $25,000 AFE in agenda item number 4? Commissioner Davis.
In terms of the fee that we normally pay, is this consistent with what we paid last year, or has there been an increase? Or
It's consistent with what we paid last year.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Anything else? Is there a motion on number 4 by Commissioner Repenning, seconded by Commissioner Jacinto and Davis? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Any issue sending number 4 forthwith? We'll send it back forthwith. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3, Council District 8, Bureaus of Engineering and Contract Administration, recommending that the board approve and forward the report with transmittals to the mayor and the city council requesting the following. Number A, approve amendment number 3 to the contract between the City of Los Angeles and Swinnerton Builders doing business as Swinnerton Management and Consulting Incorporated to extend the contract term through August 31, 2021 for program management and construction management services, and authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute amendment number 3. This is in connection with Proposition F, Public Safety General Obligation Bond, the Animal Shelter Facilities Program. Alan Esposito.
Good morning. My name is Alan Spiritu from the Bureau of Engineering Bond Program
Sorry, couldn't
Division.
read your name there, Mr. Espirito. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're requesting the board to approve amendment number 3 to extend Swinton's management construction permit for additional 5 years. They provide support for the Proposition F Animal Facility Bond Program. Swinton Management Consulting Firm provides program management and construction management services. Services entails basically constructability reviews, change order reviews, estimating for construction costs, estimating for change orders. The Proposition F Animal Bond Program is basically a renovation and new construction of animal shelters throughout the city of Los Angeles. The projects under the bond program has almost been completed, and only one shelter needs to be built, basically. We're requesting the board to approve amendment number 3 because of the one animal shelter, which is the North Central Phase 2 animal shelter, currently is in redesign and should be out to bid hopefully by October 2016 of this year. Sweden Management Consulting Firm basically pledged MBE of 11.09 and WBE of 4.64%. They are actually meeting it. For the MBE is 13.43%, and for WBE is 5.02%. Any questions?
Just to add for the oral record, a summary that is included in the board report, maybe just highlight it a bit. So the North Central Phase 2 project, that's the remaining phase that's left to be built?
Correct.
Okay, and in February of last year, there were bids that were rejected by the board for noncompliance with the bid procedures?
Correct.
Okay, so we are in the rebid process now. So we want to extend this current contract for these current services from Swinnerton so that we don't interrupt the flow as we go through the rebid process to let out a new contract for North Central Phase 2. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions regarding that, colleagues? All right. The date, are we still looking at a 2019 date for completion of the final phase?
Correct. Basically, construction hopefully to start May 2017 with a 2-year duration of construction.
All right. So we still think we can hit the 2019?
I think so.
Okay. Is there a motion by Commissioner Davis on number 3? I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith? We'll send number 3 forthwith. Thank you, Alan. Agenda item, let's go ahead and get number 1 taken care of because we have some discussion that's going to have to take place on number 2. Agenda item number 1, Bureau of Sanitation, Council District 11, recommending that the board authorize the Bureau of Sanitation Director or his designee to issue deductive change orders. There are 3 of them, numbers 10, 44, and 47, to Honeywell International in the amounts of $220,140, $134,240.86, and $200,887.31, respectively, for a sum total deduction of $555,268.17 for the deletion of program flow diagrams and the deletion of input-output points associated with programmable control modules 17, 29, and 25. These are for Sequence 3 DCS input-output points reconciliation and PCMs 18 and 20 for the Sequence 5 DCS input-output reconciliation in connection with the Hyperion treatment segment of the Los Angeles Wastewater Control System Replacement Program, also referred to as the Los Angeles Wastewater Integration System or Integrated System, something that we also call LA WINS. Ali Posti on agenda item number 1. So, Ali, you'll summarize
yes.
what
Good morning, Mr. President.
on its face make a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Mr. President, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, Mr. Ted Jordan, and Mr. Campus. My name is Ali Posti. I'm with Bureau of Sanitation. I'm here today to request authority for issuing 3 deductive change orders to the Honeywell International for the LA Winds project. LA Winds, just a little background, LA Winds project was developed to address two major issues that Bureau is currently facing. One is the obsolescence of the existing system, and also uniformity in the system as it's applied throughout our water reclamation plants and the collection system. In terms of obsolescence, the system was installed nearly 30 years ago at Hyperion, and has really surpassed its useful life. Not only that, technology has changed considerably over the past 30 years. So when the past maybe 5-10 years, it's been extremely difficult for us to get parts for our control system components. In terms of uniformity, there were different, when the treatment plant was going through expansions in the early 80s, late to early 90s, there were different contractors were on board. Each contractor brought their own control system because there was a low bid process. Therefore, there was no really, and the time really was an essence at that time. It has to meet several, or at least one court-mandated deadline. Therefore, contractors were brought in their own different types of control systems that were installed for different processes. So that made and also not only that, but at Hyperion, but also for the other three different plants as well. So that created a problem for us in terms of training and also our operators. The operators were difficult. It was extremely difficult for us to take from one treatment plant to take the other because there were different systems, and that cross-training was become very cumbersome and not really cost-effective. Therefore, so this system was really, we thought about bringing this system on Honeywell to really incorporate all of these systems into one and have a 15-year program in place. So after the first 7 years, when the construction phase is completed, the contractor is on contract with the city to upkeep the system on year 13 and year 15, and with additional 2 years of warranty, and provides service during this entire 15-year program. So we are right now, and the program was broken down into 5 different segments, 4 treatment plant segments and 1 collection system. Project was really developed in late the 2000s. It was advertised, the RFP was put out in 2011. The 3 or 4 contractors participated, and Honeywell was selected at the end by late 2011, early 2012, the NTP was issued. Contract amount was about a little bit over $88 million, and that's to be done over 15-year phase. 15-year, majority of it will be done for the first 7 or 8 years after the construction is completed. The 3 change orders are really for the Hyperion segment, which is the first segment of the project. Change order number 10, when initially we were developing the RFP, we had to make the RFP general enough so a lot of contractors could participate. Therefore, the change order number 10, which really talks about the process flow diagrams, when the project was awarded, Honeywell had a better system, really, than what we had put in our general documents. So it took us for a while to negotiate that down. There was some differences of opinion and time. So finally, this is to eliminate what we had put in our general requirements and replace it what they had as part of their original contract, or just regular business. Change orders number 44 and 47, which they talk about the input-output for each device. The input-output, each device really has several different outputs. For Hyperion segments, there were 10,688 points identified in late 2009, 2010. But water reclamation plants are very dynamic. They change the process.
Are very what?
Dynamic.
Okay.
They change, the processes change, the equipment change. So there's a difference now that we've completed the field verification and we have done the initial investigation that was done. Therefore, there's a difference of about 628 or so in number of points. Each point really requires a significant amount of work. They have to develop their software, their hardware, prepare a loop diagram for each point, so it's really relatively cumbersome. So that's the deduct change order is because the number of points has reduced from 10,688 to a new number, which is almost a little bit over 10,000. So the totality of these three change orders come to about 555,000 and some change. And we are here to request that authority to issue that change order to Honeywell, if you may.
Ali, is this process of deductive change orders as the contract goes along, is that something that we'll see on an annual basis?
Not necessarily. As we see, because we are going through different treatment plants, there is a good possibility that we get more deductive change orders in that regards, as it regards to either equipment change or number of points change. Yes, there is a possibility.
Because you're still looking at a very low, well, it's still a low percentage of change orders dollar-wise on this contract anyway.
Correct. We are extremely low. We are just about not even 1%.
Not yet 1%.
At this point, knock on wood. We'd like to keep that like that. We'd like to keep the change orders very low.
All right. Any questions regarding the agenda item number 1? Thank you for the explanation. The board report's helpful too, by the way. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1, seconded by Commissioner Repenning and Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Any issues sending it forthwith?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We'll send number 1 forthwith. Agenda item number 2, Council District 9, Bureaus of Contract Administration and Engineering contract acceptance on Estelle Van Meter Multipurpose Center rehabilitation. Recommending that the board accept the contract. And number 2, assess AMG and Associates Incorporated, AMG, with a penalty in the amount of $14,600 for the unauthorized subcontractor substitutions of 1 bid-listed WBE subcontractor and 2 bid-listed OBE subcontractors and 1 substitute OBE subcontractor. Number 3, do not assess AMG with a penalty in the amount of $7,400 for the unauthorized subcontractor substitutions of 2 bid-listed OBE subcontractors for the reasons discussed in the board report. And 4, instruct the Director, Office of Accounting, to disencumber the recommended city penalty in the amount of $10,000 from the project fund and collect the remaining funds in the amount of $4,600 from AMG. Ms. McGlinchey is here on agenda item number 2, and we have 2 speaker cards representing AMG on number 2. So, Ms. McGlinchey, why don't you set the table, walk us through the Bureau's recommendation, and then we will hear from the company and their attorney. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, Linda McGlinchey, Bureau of Contract Administration, Office of Contract Compliance. As you stated, we're recommending penalties for 4 of their subcontractors and recommending penalties not be assessed for 2 of them. The 2 that we're recommending penalties not be assessed for are Alcorn Fence and Marina Landscape. Basically, these 2 companies were bid listed to perform work. Staff was able to confirm that they did in fact perform work, but they fell short of the pledged amount of work that they had agreed to by less than $100 in both cases. And although the specifications say any reduction or other change to any subcontract amount without prior approval of the inspector is considered an unauthorized subcontractor substitution and is subject to a penalty of 10% of the subcontract amount, we feel that the deviation of less than $100 simply doesn't make sense to recommend a penalty in that case. So we're recommending that the associated penalty for those 2, which totaled $7,400, not be assessed.
I'm assuming we're not going to have any objection from AMG on those 2 items, so we'll put those aside. But thank you for the explanation. Go ahead.
Now, the remaining 4, we have 2 subcontractors, Lavelle Pearson Holland, who was bid listed to perform earthwork totaling $27,000, and Richmond Plastering, who was approved I'm sorry, not Richmond, Westcote Fire Protection, who was bid listed to perform fire protection and sprinkler work totaling $28,000. Neither of these two subcontractors were utilized on this contract at all. Staff informed the contractor that we were looking at a potential penalty of 10%. The contractor responded respectively with regards to Lavelle Pearson Holland that the project was a renovation, earthwork was not applicable, and off-site street work was not awarded as part of the contract, and no earthwork was performed. With regards to Westco Fire, they said the building permit as issued by the City of Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety did not require the existing renovation work to be upgraded and an automatic fire sprinkler system, or to upgrade with an automatic fire sprinkler system. The contract documents therefore did not require fire protection and the work was deleted. We are recommending the penalty for these two subcontractors who submitted bids to the prime, believed that they were getting work. The prime included them in their bid proposal to the city, so that was included in the price we paid for this project regardless. We did confirm that that as the prime stated, neither of these items were necessary. But again, since any reduction or other change to any subcontract amount without prior approval may result in that 10% penalty, that's why we're making that recommendation for these two subs.
Because you're saying essentially it's something the city paid for.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then our last two subcontractors, it's Amric Inc., DBA Material Supply Unlimited, was bid listed to perform street cleaning or sweeping work totaling $12,000.
Sorry, which one are you on, Ms. McGlinchey?
This is Amric Inc.
Oh, okay.
They were bid listed to perform street sweeping cleaning work totaling $12,000. We're recommending a penalty of $1,200 because we were not able to confirm that they performed any work on the contract. When we informed the contractor, they submitted their own internal accounting record, which indicated that they had performed work. However, it was just an internal accounting record. We asked them for copies of the invoices to confirm the amount on that record. They never provided that. Additionally, staff checked with the labor compliance section as this was work that would have required certified payroll reports. Labor compliance had no record of this subcontractor performing work or submitting payrolls. So as a result, we are recommending a penalty of $1,200 for this subcontractor. The last subcontractor is Richmond Plastering, which was approved as a substitute for their bid-listed subcontractor, Lemon Construction, to perform lath and plaster work totaling $79,000. We were able to confirm with the subcontractor that they completed $62,113 worth of work, which means that there's a difference there and the potential penalty would be $7,900. We informed the contractor and they informed us that although they requested approval in the amount of $79,000, it was an error and they should have requested approval in the amount of $70,000. Additionally, they submitted their own internal cost transaction report where they reported that the sub performed $67,418 worth of work. However, as I said, the sub had reported a different amount to us. Therefore, we asked the contractor to submit their invoices from the sub, which would have proved the amount that they were listing on their report, but they never did that. So as a result, we are recommending a penalty of $7,900 for this subcontractor. Do you have any questions?
What was that figure again? The last figure?
The last one was $7,900.
So, and then there's a $2,800 figure from Westco Fire Protection Company?
Yes,
Did you already go over that one?
yes.
I missed that one completely.
I'm sorry, I talked about that in conjunction with Lavelle Pearson.
Oh, okay, the 2,700 and the 2,800.
Right, because
Got it.
those were the two that were not included in the scope of work.
Right, so that you got 2,700, 1,200, 7,900, and 2,800, and that gets you to the 14,600.
Correct.
Okay, Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you. Ms. McGlinchey, I just had a question regarding process. You mentioned if they received prior approval for a scope of work that was unilaterally determined not necessary by the city, would they have been able to not be penalized for that scope of work?
Potentially, yes. Yeah, I mean, yes, if they had gotten prior approval that this work wasn't part of it, it would have been adjusted.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
No, I was going to ask for confirmation that in fact they did not inform us when they were instructed by another agency of the change of scope of work. They never informed us of that. You talked about that initially in your presentation.
They would have to speak to that. My understanding was it wasn't a matter of their not being informed, as when they looked at the bid proposal documents, that they thought it was, somehow they thought it was in there, even though it wasn't. And so, they listed these subs. The subs were approved for work. They never came back to us and said this work isn't part of the contract.
All right, thank you, Ms. McGlinchey. I know you won't go far away. We may have additional questions. I have two cards for representatives from AMG, Michael Wayne and Anthony Trenerso. It doesn't matter in which order you want to go. That's up to you.
May we come up together?
Yes, of course.
Good morning, Mr. President, Commissioners, and City staff. My name is Michael Wayne. I'm the attorney for the contractor. I have with me Anthony, it's Traverso is his name, and he's a principal of the company and was involved in this particular project. You're correct, we're here today because we request reconsideration of the 4 assessments. And we know that they're relatively small in light of the total contract amount, but this contractor prides itself on the fact that in 10 years of doing public construction, they've never been assessed a penalty on any project. They pride themselves on complying with the license laws, and we also think that the assessments are inappropriate, and we'll explain those things. I'll do kind of a broad overview, and if Mr. Traverso wants to add something or answer your questions, that's why he's here. First of all, 2 of the subs, Wesco and Holland, did not perform any work. At the time of bid, the contractor...
Wait. So 2 of the, Wesco and Holland?
Wesco and Holland are the 2 that did not perform work.
Right.
That Ms. McGlinchey talked about together.
Got it. Oh, Lavelle Pearson Holland.
Lavelle Pearson
okay,
Holland. Sorry, I'm going by the last name.
Called him something different. So, okay. Let's just call him Holland for everybody.
Okay, Holland and Wesco.
Right.
At the time the contractor bid the job, they interpreted the documents as, the construction documents, as including that work. As construction commenced and was being performed, they determined that the work was not required, so those contractors never performed any work. No one else did this work. There was no substitution here. There is nothing in the subcontractor listing laws which indicates that this is a violation or an unauthorized substitution. There is case law out there that I can cite that deletion of work or work not being required is not an unauthorized substitution. We have 2 other contractors. One is a Merck, and I'm going to let Mr. Traverso talk on that, but that was the street cleaning and sweeping. But just as a general comment, that contractor had a scope of work which was substantially reduced. At the time in the project...
Just a minute.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wayne. I'm still digesting the claim that... Let's put the other 2. Let me just make sure I understand your argument on the other 2. Your argument is on Holland and on Wesco that the case law would state that it is not an unauthorized substitution. because the work was not performed. Those subcontractors never worked on the project.
Right. The basis for this penalty or the basis for this recommendation is that this is an unauthorized substitution. And
Yes.
what we're saying is the law says that is not an unauthorized substitution. And there's nothing in the specific public contract code that says that's an unauthorized substitution.
Oh, okay.
And the case law confirms that.
So now you've moved on to which one?
I'll go to a Merck first, and I think Mr. Traverso will be able to explain it a little better or add something to it. But essentially, the scope of work of that subcontractor was reduced, and I believe that there was a specific change order reducing the scope of that work.
Okay.
And then when it came time to do some cleanup work, which was also a part of that subcontractor scope, they were nowhere to be found or refused to come and perform the work. And the contractor, AMG, was forced to get it done, to get this project done for the city. And they expended in excess of what they would have had to pay that contractor. And they submitted that documentation to the city. Am I correct on that? That's correct. Essentially. And then on Richmond Plastering, we agree with Ms. McGlinchey. They were substituted in. The original subcontractor for that scope of work had bid $70,000. And what happened on this one was the contract wasn't awarded until about 14 months after bid time. And this was right when the construction industry was really being hit by the burst of the bubble. And when it came time to start getting subs in line for the performance of the work, several of them had either gone out of business or refused to perform the work for the prices that they had quoted. In Richmond's case, they gave a bid of $9,000 higher than what our original sub had bid, and we paid that sub in full, Richmond. However, we had a change order, a deductive change order, based on quality control issues, and the contractor, Richmond, agreed to those. It was agreed upon, and subcontractor Richmond has provided documentation to the city that it was paid in full on this project.
Okay. Do you have any, Commissioner Davis? And then I want to break these down one at a time, just so I can digest it. But Commissioner Davis, go ahead.
I want to talk briefly about the Holland issue, which was the very first one that you discussed. And you did point out to us that it's not in statute that, in fact, you have to report to contract administration any change therein. As a result of that, they assumed, when I say they, I'm talking about contract administration, assumed that, in fact, that this subcontractor was in place when, in fact, he was not. Were there any dollars that you got as a result of this assumption that contract administration made?
Well, the contract was a fixed price contract. So we were paid the fixed price less the about $12,000. And by the way, that's one other point I would like to make. But you guys have listed that it's $10,000 that's being withheld. It's actually almost $12,000. It's just a little bit under $12,000. But in any event, we were paid everything except that amount.
So what is your response to the fact that, in fact, you were paid in this particular instance, and yet there has not been any communication with regard to contract administration on this item?
I'm not sure if there was or not, but I know that in a fixed price contract situation, I'm not aware of any requirement. If it's determined that if work is either deleted or if it's determined that certain work isn't required, that there's a requirement that the board be or the contract administration be notified. I'm not aware of that requirement.
We are not, as I understand it, and the city attorney can correct me if I'm incorrect, there may not be anything that compels you in law, but we do have a practice of business that we normally do with people that do business with us. And one of the things that happens when you are engaging in a contract and you get it is that a conversation takes place with contract administration at some point in time where they discuss doing business with the city of Los Angeles, and at which time they do inform you of the need to communicate with the Bureau. So while, in fact, I understand that you're not compelled in law, I certainly do want to make sure that we, as a matter of practice, communicate between prime contractor and Bureau of Contract Administration. So that has been, to my understanding, the practice. So I would have a concern about not responding and communicating with them to the end that doing business with the city of Los Angeles, it is the practice that we communicate.
I'll let Mr. Traverso speak to that because I don't know what the communication was on this issue.
Okay, thank you. If I can, just a quick introduction. My name is Anthony Traverso, Vice President with AMG and Associates. At the time of this contract, we were a city and state certified small business entity. The project bid in 2011, we extended our bid twice. It took 14 months for the project to get awarded. During that time, a number of far more than we've ever experienced before, a great number of subcontractors, 8 plus, either failed or were unable to commit to their pricing from bid day, and so we were forced to substitute them. That's not standard practice. Typically, we do a lot of public works, about 90%. Typically, we have 1 or 2 substitutions on a public works project. For there to be 8 was extremely unusual. So to your point about communication, Mr. Davis, we had extensive communication with BCA over substituting all of those 8 subs plus in order to try to get this work completed. As Mr. Wayne said, it occurred right when the public or when construction was experiencing the fallout from the housing crisis. So we did communicate. I mean, there's a lot of information in the file, letters back and forth between Mr. Nettle and myself trying to substitute out subcontractors. The point on LP Holland and the point on Merck Inc. are very much similar in the regard that the work required us to go out into the city street to put in a new water meter. Department of Public Works came out as we were required to coordinate with them during the permitting process, and they looked at the meter, and this was a renovation project, and they said, there is nothing wrong with the meter that's there. We want you to use that one. We don't want you to go into our street. When that occurred, the majority of the work that would have been done by LP Holland and Merck under the terms of this contract was deleted. The city got a credit for not going in and replacing that meter. The city accepted it. There was a lot of discussion with BCA and engineering in our weekly meetings and in our ongoing change order negotiations at that time regarding the removal of that scope of work. So we don't, nobody, as Mr. Wayne said, completed that work on their behalf because the work didn't happen. So we don't feel that that was a substitution, and we didn't request it as such. It was simply a deletion of work.
Well, I understand that it is valid that you did receive this communication from the regulatory agency that you talk about, and that they did, as a result of the conversation with you, change it. But it's not the validity that I'm concerned about, it's the reliability that I am concerned about on your behalf in terms of then, therefore, communicating to BCA of this communication and this change. Now, having heard your testimony a few minutes ago, I'm just trying to figure out, is it fair to say that perhaps there was an oversight on your behalf to further communicate with BCA about the fact of the change of status of Holland at that point in time, that you were informed that the work was not needed?
Well, I believe that we did communicate that during the normal course of construction, and I'm really pleased that Mr. Haji Abdallah is here I'm hoping, if he has an opportunity to speak, it can attest to the fact that we were a cooperative and communicative contractor during the course of construction, especially on this particular project because of the timing of it. And there was a lot that we had done in excess of the contract requirements to be a good partner with the city. This was our first project with the city. We had hoped to do many more. As I mentioned before, we're a public works contractor. We know how to do public works. This was very unusual circumstances because of the financial crisis that the construction industry was feeling at that point. But
so it would be fair to say that you did talk to someone in BCA, and could you tell me with whom you spoke?
It was our normal course of construction, weekly meetings with both inspection, engineering was there, architectural was there, administration was there.
I just want to be clear. So basically, as it relates to Holland, you had a verbal conversation informing the Bureau of Contract Administration of the change.
Yes, and it was documented in the sense that there was a deductive change order for that street work that was accepted by the city. And all of that price breakdown of how we got to that negotiated amount was detailed in the change order and accepted.
So that then Bureau of Contract Administration further confirmed your conversation about the change in Holland by giving you a document that adjusted financially the amount that we owed you as it relates to the work that was deducted from Holland based upon the information you were receiving from the agency that work was no longer needed. Is that pretty accurate?
That's correct. It's both in a sense. It was the same issue. It's going out into the street for the street meter. So it's detailed in the change order that the city accepted, yes.
So then, therefore, in terms of the issue with regard to Holland, it might be apparent from your testimony that we had made an oversight in terms of our failure to understand that you had communicated with us regarding the change in Holland's scope of work.
I would encourage you to talk with Mr. Michael Yamura, who was the project manager and was aware of all of the change orders, and he would probably indicate that that's the case, but I can't speak for him.
Well, I'd like to do that.
Ms. McGlinchey? This is on the Holland issue? Go ahead.
This is the first time we're hearing that there was an actual change order deducting work. Had we been informed of that, we would have looked into it and given any appropriate credit. As stated in the board report, they never said that. They said the project was a renovation, earthwork was not applicable, off-street work was not awarded as part of the contract. They never said that there was a deduct change order. Our instructions to them when we're doing the closeout process is very clear in terms of if there is a deduct change order, that be communicated to us so that we can give appropriate credit.
Sure.
Mrs. McGlinchey, did we give them a document that adjusted the price as it relates to the involvement of Holland and a change of scope of work that was described to them by another agency saying that they did not any longer need to perform that task, and then allegedly communicated with us, and we then allegedly gave a financial assessment that lessened the work that would be done by Holland? Do you remember or recall any of that?
We did not give them any credit because we were never told that there was a change order issued by engineering that covered this.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you. I would request if we could find the deductive change order. A change order is something, it's a document.
Yeah, I agree. We may have to continue some of this over, but I would like, just for our future hearing, because everybody's here now, to resolve some things that we may be able to resolve today. So recognizing that we have an outstanding issue on this, and Holland and somebody else is treated the same. Holland and Wesco are treated the same in essence here, right?
He was saying Amherst, but
see, there's four of them, and I'm already okay. So,
but what he's saying contradicts what they had given us, because he said that the change order deducted work from the street sweeping subcontractor, yet their internal transaction report, which we didn't accept, showed them performing more work than what they were bid listed for. And then, as I said, there's no documentation from labor compliance that they ever performed work or submitted certified payroll reports.
Mr. Jordan, regarding the claim by Mr. Wayne that that under the case law they weren't required to submit approval for the contract, the substitution, would the city agree with that position?
At this point in time, no. What we would look for if there's work that was included in the bid of this contract is a change order eliminating that work. It's not unprecedented for there to be work that a proposer or a bidder includes in their bid that turns out to be not needed. and so a deductive change order would be done. But until that's done, the subcontractor is entitled to get paid what they were listed for. We had on our agenda today deductive change orders.
Yes.
And the testimony so far is that there, from the contractor, was that there were deductive change orders for Amherst and Richmond. They were not part of this report, so there's some question whether those change orders exist. But clearly, the concept of a deductive change order is not foreign to everybody here. We've talked about them.
It seems to me that our record might be incomplete. To Commissioner Jacinto's point, there are issues raised, Ms. McGlinchey, that were raised by AMG regarding documents that you've heard of for the first time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any of these, of the four, Holland and Merck are similarly situated, correct?
I would consider them very different.
Holland and Wesco.
Oh, Holland and Wesco. I thought I said Holland and Wesco a minute ago. I've got them as
You
I'm
AMG
sorry.
was putting Holland and Amherst together, but to me
I've
they're
got them
very
as
different.
numbers in my head. I've got them as 2,800 and 2,700. Okay, and those are the two that are similarly situated, whoever they are. Is that right? Holland is 2,700.
Yes.
And Wesco is 2,800.
Correct.
Okay, those are aren't they similarly situated?
I would say they're similar situated. However, AMG was not addressing them together.
Okay, so isn't the argument the same that neither of them performed any work?
Correct.
That's why I'm putting them in the same box. Maybe it's too simple, but I'm putting them in the same box. They would be under the same argument made by Mr. Wayne regarding whether or not AMG was even required to do a contractor substitution, right?
Correct.
Okay. And thus that response from Mr. Jordan that said that while Mr. Wayne may take that position regarding the case law, the city attorney's office might necessarily disagree.
And I would agree with the city attorney's office because although Mr. Wayne's talking about the public contract code, which is far more broad, we're looking at it from the terms of the specifics of our contract.
Right. So our specific contracts may have rules that don't necessarily translate to the public contract code or the case law.
Correct.
But it's a contract.
Yes.
All right. So looking at the, let's put Holland and, who's the 2,700? We've got so many. Let's put Holland and Wesco aside for a moment. On Richmond plastering, that's the $7,900. Would you, and I knew this was going to happen when you came to brief me, Ms. McGlinchey, with all these numbers and names going everywhere. That's why you came to brief me perhaps more than once even. On the $7,900 on Richmond, what's the issue on Richmond?
So they were an approved substitution for $79,000 worth of work.
And they spent $9,000 more.
More than the original sub is what they requested approval for. However, staff was only able to confirm that this subcontractor performed $62,113 worth of work. And again, this is one where the prime AMG stated with their own internal cost control sheet that they performed more work, but could not back that or did not back that up with the invoices as requested by staff. So we've basically negated that claim since there's nothing to back it up, and we're going with what the subcontractor told us that they actually invoiced.
Okay, Mr. Wayne, are you able to back your figure up with other than just your own internal documents? Do you have invoices from the outside to support your position?
My understanding, and yes is the answer, my understanding is that AMG had a deductive change order based upon quality control issues, that the subcontractor, Richmond, accepted that, and that is the basis for paying them less than the $79,000.
So we're back to another deductive change order.
But our number is different from the city's. We have paying them $67,418, and the city has the 62. But we have provided some type of declaration from Richmond that says we've been paid in full for everything we've done. And that's why we don't feel like we should be assessed for this contractor.
But Ms. McGlinchey, are you able to determine that the amount that they're claiming they have spent, are you able to determine from the outside source that they have been spent that, other than just a declaration? An invoice is I recognize a declaration from somebody, but an invoice for the work that the contract administration does is more valuable than just somebody signing a declaration that just says, oh yeah, I was paid.
No. Like I said, they never submitted invoices to us. And furthermore, their own internal change order is not an acceptable deduct change order for us.
And I want a point of clarification.
Commissioner Davis.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
A point of clarification. Whenever a prime contractor changes the arrangement financially of a sub in any figure, is it our practice that the prime contractor contacts us to let us know of that change?
Not only contact us, but again, that goes back to our contract documents, which state that any change must be approved by us first. So that would have applied to their internal deduct change order as well.
Also in our practice in the way we do business in the city, when someone gets a contract from the city, do we still have a conversation from BCA with that prime contractor going verbally over these things that we do in practice?
Yes, we do. After contract award, there is a pre-construction meeting, which they were a part of, and we go over all the prevailing wage requirements as well as the subcontractor approval and substitution requirements and what can result in a potential penalty.
So would it be fair to say that after that meeting, we've made it clear to prime contractors what our expectation is in terms of performance and communication with us in terms of doing business with the city?
Yes.
Thank you.
So it sounds to me like we have perhaps, and I think my colleagues would agree just by statements made, that we have some maybe miscommunication, maybe there are some documents that could be provided in the way of deductive change orders that would help us resolve this. So I'm going to, what I would recommend is that we continue this for either 14 or 21 days, really depending on you, Ms. McGlinchey, and you, Mr. Wayne, how much time the two of you need for Ms. McGlinchey's staff to work with your team to provide whatever documentation is needed so that the item can come back and maybe we have some agreement on some of these four different items that add up to the $14,600. Maybe we end up with a disagreement on some, maybe we end up with agreement on a couple, but then that way we have a complete record, which I feel like we don't have a complete record right now just listening to everyone. I will say, though, from my perspective, for Mr. Wayne, I'm not particularly moved by the argument that, the public contract code or the case law doesn't really require us to do that if our contracts have a very clear stated requirements in our contracts. So I don't necessarily need you to respond to that today, but it's something you might be prepared to respond to the next time we're back here if there's no agreement on the two items that relate to that argument, all right? So what I would do then is, does it matter if it's 14 days or 21 days? Is there a preference for either of you? Ms. McGlinchey, go ahead.
I would say it's really on them because it's a matter, like I said, the biggest thing was the invoices and the deduct change order. It'll relatively easy for us to check both of those once we have the information.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Wayne, would you, how much time do you want? 14 days, 21 days?
let's do 21 to be on the
Okay.
safe side.
So, Mr. Campos, 3 weeks from today, what would that date be?
That would be Monday, September 19th.
Monday, September 19th. Okay, so we would continue agenda item number 2 in whole to Monday, September 19th. Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Mr. Campos, have we, I need to close the neighborhood council category of commentary. Other than that, have we cleared the desk?
Yes.
Okay, then we are adjourned this morning. Thank you, everyone.